What kind of, like, why not?
Gosh, I always liked this show until now. This is like, literally, I'd rather be anywhere else right now. I canceled laying around for this. This sucks.
Are we ready to go, fellas?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do this.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 34 of From the Middle. I am one of your hosts, Dylan, here with Corey and Kendall, and another one of our guests, Jeremy Kester.
Hi, guys. Super pumped.
Welcome back, Jeremy. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Backroom Coffee. They are an awesome partner of ours, and we're super thrilled to be working alongside them. Go check out their website, backroomcoffeeroasters.com. Throw something in the cart. Go ahead and place an order. There's a little drop down where you can tell them where you heard about us, one of those things. And there's an option for the podcast. So go ahead and select that. Let them know. Even a little box, you can throw a comment in there. So thank you so much, Backroom Coffee. We're enjoying, if you're on YouTube, you'll notice several of us are enjoying the delicious Backroom cold brew. So thank you so much for that. And we love you as a partner. So we've got Jeremy back. You might have heard a couple of our episodes with Jeremy. Yeah, I don't know which episodes. Corey, do you remember?
9 and 10. Creative Process with Jeremy Kester.
Yeah, parts 1 and 2, and honestly, you've just been such a good friend of the show, friend personally, but also a friend of the show. We always ask folks to let us know what you think, give us your thoughts, send us voicemails, comment on social media, all those things, and we beg for it, which we're not above doing. And Jeremy, you're so kind to continue to do that for us and give us feedback and share your fun thoughts.
Yeah,
and so,
I have zero control of that.
Yeah.
I immediately have to do it.
Yeah,
No self-control whatsoever.
Your lack of self-control is super beneficial, so we appreciate it. And we're glad to have you back. We don't have to talk anything creative this time. We can just hang out, kind of have you here. Nothing specific that you have to answer. I know last time I was essentially interrogating you. Nothing specific you have to answer this time. Just hanging out. It's kind of our fourth chair today.
Super grateful to be here. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. So welcome.
So we had this backlog of fan interactions, friend interactions. I don't even like saying fan. That's so...
I'm a fan. It's real.
No, it's weird. We got
Midler interactions. And of the 9 or 10 voicemails, 8 or 9 of them were Jeremy.
Every day at work, I go to Dylan. I go, look, guys, you don't have to use these. As I think of it, I promise, please don't use them.
And so I was like, well, rather than just play them and react, let's have him back onto the show and we can talk about some of them. We don't have to at all. I like the idea that whenever we have a guest, the conversation goes where it's going to go organically, and I don't want to force any structure. But some of them were really good, and I think we could double click on some of them if we wanted to. And so you were saying, as we were kind of setting up, that sometimes you have to fight the urge. Like, you want to call him immediately and just react to something that you hear.
Yeah, Dylan and I work together in our day jobs, and it's so frequent that a small seed of a thought turns into a really practical or profound discussion. And coincidentally, I do kind of the same thing I do with you guys with the voicemail, but at his desk, where I walk over and stand there and he can't leave. And every time I'm there, there's this little pin with this little poster that I knock off of his desk, literally every single time. Every single time.
on purpose?
No, it's just he didn't set the desk up properly for me to be standing there while he's trying to work. So it's more of an ergonomics issue. So that instinct to just have great discussions, this is something I found later in my life is people that I can do that with. And you guys have, Dylan's been that, and the show's been that. So it's just when you say something, I turn to the passenger seat and want to say, hey, I think it might be. And then, of course, I'm alone. So I send a voicemail.
Well, we love it, and it's good to hear from you, and you have really thoughtful input, and so I thought it would be fun to talk about some of these. Some of the voicemails less thoughtful input and just kind of silly and fun. But
no, they're thoughtful. They're just stupid.
Well, I didn't want to say that.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I'm here.
Since you work with Dylan, and he titillated us with the idea of what was going to happen to Megadesk. Can you report on?
Yeah.
What did you end up doing? What's going on?
Yeah, actually, this is about as hipster as it gets. It's not a long story, but essentially the desks are standing desks or sitting desks, and that one turned into a standing desk with a beanbag under it. So it's basically a little alcove that people will come and read. I'll get a good 5 minutes into a discussion before I read. Before I realize there's like a hipster down there reading.
Yeah.
And luckily, everybody has Bose 700, a good friend of the show. Hopefully, they sponsor later. But
Man, that'd be great.
They can't hear us. But yeah, it turned into a little alcove to read books.
Yeah. And I love your visits because you'll come over to the side of the desk, knock the card off with the pin, and say, "Do you have 30 seconds?" And I'll just mentally block out 30 minutes.
Yeah, I'll say real quick. This is a real quick thing. I have this weird mechanism, and I've realized it later in life, that if someone shows interest, that extends the clock. Yeah. And so I'll come over and I'll say, Dylan, this is a really quick thought. And in my mind, it was like the thought was really quick, but then he had a follow-up question, unlimited extension on time.
Yeah.
And so as I realized that that's the case or not the case, I'm adjusting a little bit.
And
this is happening right now. I forgot I was on a podcast. I've been talking for 5 minutes. I literally forgot that we have a limited amount of time here.
Yeah.
No, we don't.
We do and we don't.
What a mess.
No, not at all.
35 years old, this guy.
So follow-up question. Just a random colleague of yours will be in the beanbag chair beside your desk?
Yeah.
Well, they're not random. I mean, they're people.
I know, but
Yeah,
they work there.
There's my desk is sort of on the end of a row of 3 desks, and the middle one has become mega desk. And then the gentleman on the other side. So it's frequently one of the two of us, but anyone can just come over and kind of lay down right in between us and sort of take advantage of that. So it's fine. We've talked about as we continue to, the company grows and we hire more people, I've just made it very clear to our boss that is literally the last place we can put someone.
Yeah.
And that includes the foosball table, which we can put a piece of wood on top of.
Which, by
and
the
make that
way,
their desk.
was assembled backwards as a left-handed foosball table. Somebody was really thoughtful in putting it together exactly the wrong direction. And so,
oh, you got to fix that.
no,
Fantastic.
can't. It's all glued. So
All
that
done.
can go.
I have to visit this place,
Yeah.
this magical place.
check it out.
It's a startup company.
Yeah. If we ever accidentally
If you
hire a
haven't
lefty-
gathered that by now.
Oh, they gathered that at beanbag chair, and was confirmed by foosball table.
Yeah, yeah. The arcade games, foosball, putt green.
Yeah, and I mean, we work too.
Yeah.
There's work there.
Yeah,
Sure.
It's really just an elaborate
But what is
set of
work?
decorations.
yeah. Is there any room for work?
We try to find time. It's an elaborate set of decorations that we all stare at while we're at our desks.
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
That's funny. No, but we appreciate it. And some of the voicemails I crack up at. The one when you called in and we're talking about merging into traffic.
Yeah.
So,
I didn't feel like the representation there was off. I didn't think you guys understood like why I'm flying by. 5 minutes later, no one's let me in. Dylan hasn't let me in. And I've got to get home. I have kids and
I don't want to be this person.
oh man,
Cracked up.
silly
Man,
dilly.
I'm funny.
Okay. So how do we want to do this? Do we want to start tackling some of the voicemails? Do we want to do some updates first before we get into that? What are our thoughts here?
Do we have updates?
I mean,
Let's
we
do
don't,
that.
we don't have to. Let's go around.
People haven't listened to us for a whole week.
Yeah, they're
Yeah, it's
they're
true.
chomping at the proverbial bit.
They're dying to know what's going on in the.
A little fan comment here. I really enjoy the updates.
Do you?
Are
Yeah,
you
I
serious?
really do. Yeah, give some context to where your head's at. Because you guys like quit your life and come over here and do this whole deal. And it's nice to hear what's going on.
All right.
All right. Cool.
Not that I speak for everybody.
I
Hey,
think you
if you
just
disagree
became-
with me, make sure you comment on Instagram, leave a voicemail, or share out on Twitter.
There he is.
Let's talk about that's an update. Let's talk about that.
Sure.
I don't mind being raw and being authentic. We've got to get more social media traction here. If you're unfamiliar with how Facebook or Instagram sort of throttle back your engagement. So if you're an individual and you have, say, 1,500 friends and you share something, all of those people see that update, if I'm understanding things correctly.
Yeah.
If you're a page or a business, Facebook limits how many people get to see that.
Right.
So even if I share something from our page, a very small percentage of my total friends will see that I shared something because I tagged our page.
Right.
So we're really trying hard to. It's great that our friends and family listen. We're trying to broaden some of the reach. Baked into the heartbeat behind this podcast is being centrist and having conversations with people that share different points of view. That only goes so far with your friends and all your family, because they're going to love what you do, kind of no matter what. So we want to get out there a little more. So we need you guys that are listening to us right now. We need you to share, tell your friends, like old-fashioned word-of-mouth style, like, hey, there's this podcast that I really enjoy, and here's why I like it. That would really, really help us. We're not doing it because we need 5-star reviews on iTunes. We're doing it because we want it to sort of get traction. Instagram does the same thing. I'll put 30 hashtags in there that would normally get tons of traction if I was sharing it as an individual and I appear thirsty. But then it limits who actually sees that, and I get a shockingly and surprisingly low number of likes. Not that we're like hungry, not that we're actually thirsty, but we're just trying to get this out there. So if you enjoy us, if you think it's worthwhile for your commute and you have fun engaging our little conversations, help us out. And Kester is the model of doing that. He comments, he shares, he does it because he, for whatever reason, seems to genuinely enjoy it. So, so you just became king of the middlers, is what I'm saying.
No. I couldn't take that. I'm sure you have loyal folks. I think what's fun is in our business and other ventures as creatives and stuff, it's fun to just hear what people. I think part of why I interact so much is I recognize how fun it is to hear people's input. And so even if people aren't sharing outward, like I'm sure you guys would appreciate people sending in voicemails, giving their thoughts,
Absolutely.
give you something to riff and kind of go off of, because it's fun. The banter is part of it. It's not
Absolutely.
the whole show.
We want it to be two-way. Otherwise, it feels like we're doing this in a vacuum.
Yeah. Two-way is the most fun. When we have those two-way situations, that is the best part of doing this.
Have you guys shared clearly how to do that? Like what you guys do?
Yeah. So there's a few ways to do it. First of all, just to kind of underscore the Facebook thing specifically, because a lot of y'all are out on that, and you try to help us out. And here's the whole thing is, and this isn't conspiracy theory. This is some actual changes that have occurred over the course of the past year or two with Facebook. That if you have a page, Facebook wants the page owners to pay to get reach, and when they don't or can't do that, Facebook has now eliminated the ability for a page to organically grow. What that means is, say that I use my personal page, and I share, if I share a link to the from the middle page,
right,
from my personal profile, it's not going to go out to all of my friends,
right?
Because Facebook says, "No, you're trying to get around the system." Mm-hmm. And so if you want to share something on Facebook, I would recommend, instead of sharing our page, like share our Apple Podcast link.
Or the YouTube video,
or share the actual YouTube video.
Yeah.
Something along those lines. Don't put our Facebook page in what you're sharing, and it'll actually go out to your friends.
Yeah.
Or share your own reaction and link.
Absolutely,
link
make it more real.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah. And one thing I've loved seeing for the folks that have supported us with purchasing some of the stickers, thank you so much, by the way. Like, they've started to share some of those photos, and literally putting it in very high profile spots for other people to see, which has been a lot of fun. But yeah, anytime you've ever seen a mafia movie where there's some kind of shakedown, that's essentially what's happening.
Speaking of mafias and stickers and high profile locations,
where is this going? What on earth?
I'm intrigued. I have no idea.
No. Just an update for me. So I used to have a sticker on the back of my truck.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. My truck has ceased to.
I'm sorry.
Did
you name her?
The truck?
Yeah.
The truck was Optimus Prime.
Okay. So Optimus Prime.
Wait, is the truck dead? Is that what I'm hearing?
Dead. Yeah.
Oh, I'm
Optimus
sorry.
Prime died.
Spoiler.
So, which was just a go. It does every single time. Like you put a from the middle sticker on the back of your truck, and a month later it dies.
Yeah.
Waste of a good sticker.
I've got it on my kid's backpack, so I'm going to have to
be careful with
deal
that.
with that.
You got to be careful with that.
I'm just trying to support the show.
I just
put people in danger.
So,
and our sticker sales just plummeted, which is why we can't afford Facebook ads.
Yes. Yeah. But anyway, I replaced the truck with the poor man's mafia vehicle, which is the Chrysler 300.
I've always loved
It's a Phantom.
I like to call it the 300.
Mm-hmm. 300.
The 300.
I like that car.
The
You
three.
could do like Sparta.
The 3 honey.
Oh, yeah.
Sparta.
Sparta? Yeah.
I like the 300.
All right, fine.
I've taught my kids even to call it like there's mommy's car and the 300.
the 300. Yeah, I get it.
I like it.
So,
It's very sharp, by the way. I like the wheels.
it's what they had used at the dealership.
Really?
Came
Yeah.
with the car.
Came with the car. 2017 model.
Beautiful.
That's how I
It is sharp.
That's nice.
And it's the 300.
The 300.
Optimus Prime is no longer with us.
Yeah.
We now have the 300.
Yeah. So the Optimus Prime was a Ford F-150, so I doubled up.
Dude, our
think that's how that works.
our
one-
favorite
one-
car was our Pontiac Aztec, the most hated,
Oh, I loved those
ugliest car in the world.
Was
That
it
my
the
wife
bright
and
yellow
I's
I'm looking
color?
this up.
favorite. It was tan. Would you ask, Corey?
Was it the bright yellow that it
No,
came
no.
in?
It was the only good-looking one. It didn't have the plastic part on the bottom, and it was the tan metallic, one solid color.
Yeah.
Had 17-inch alloys. It had a digital heads-up windshield display.
Yeah.
The center console was a cooler that you could take out. It had an air compressor in the back and a
Was this
tent
like
kit.
a super package?
Unbelievable. I actually worked at the car dealership. Yeah, that's the one. I actually worked
Yeah.
at the car dealership at the time and had a good month and spent all my money, wasted my money on an engagement ring and a car and a TV.
The photo I pulled up, the tagline for the photo is from 14 all-time worst cars tested
Yeah.
by Consumer Reports.
Well, if I can be
Whatever,
real honest
whatever. They're
about
cool.
what I feel about that right now, it is that I shouldn't be honest. Yeah, so I kept 1 out of 3 of those things, and away we go. But it was awesome, man. We loved it. We slept out in the yard in a tent with it, and then
Yeah.
never used it again.
That's awesome. Hey, I like the Pontiac Aztec was a bold marketing move when it came out, and it backfired for a lot of people. But then a lot of folks were like,
I
"That
loved
is
it.
It's like a kit car.
I got my
Gadgets all
first
over the place, man.
the first day that I had it, I got a speeding ticket for 116 miles an hour, and I told the officer, I said, I just need to know for an emergency I just bought it today. I need to know in an emergency how fast this can go. And I said, officer, I know that you understand that this is reasonable, and I had to go to court for that one. That was real bad.
Wow.
But little did you know,
Did you tell the judge the same thing?
yeah, I thought
Yeah.
I was being super reasonable. I was like, I'm going to do this one time ever. Relax.
In a school zone.
And now because I got pulled over, I got to do it again.
Yeah. Well, I think you could. Why don't you help?
Yeah, and it
can
turns
help
out
me, officer.
117 miles an hour is the governor on a Pontiac Aztec. That's when it begins to throttle the speed that you can go. So you can only
Yeah,
go
okay.
117 in an Aztec.
Well, good. Well, see, and now other Pontiac.
Is that what we were talking about?
Other Pontiac Aztec owners don't have to do that now.
I don't like your tone. First of all, I feel like
no,
you're
no,
acting
no,
like
no.
there's no Aztec owners. Are we fighting?
We're not fighting.
Gosh,
We're not fighting.
I need a minute. Talk about something
Where's
else.
the Tylenol?
Tell everybody where you got that cold brew.
Yeah, so 2 minutes into this, I'm not going to tell you what I did, but I'm going to tell you what had happened after 2 minutes. Within 2 minutes, I had Corey's coffee, not a coffee like the one Corey had, the one that he got out for himself, and Corey is also carrying in for me a padded chair because I wasn't satisfied with the plastic chair that these guys use every week to create something that I enjoy. And so I'm sitting here drinking Corey's coffee, sitting in a chair they didn't know they had, thinking, wow, this is going to be all about me.
Because I had not even been here 5 minutes and already I've stolen Corey's coffee and demanded a better chair.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
What's crazy about being 35 and like going through the self-discovery stuff right now is you can be fully aware that you do not like a lot of attributes about yourself, and it still takes time to change. So when I came in, I was like, I realized, I just took the best stuff in the room. I did that at the office. I took a second monitor. Everybody's like, where'd you get that? Did you use your desk budget? I said, no, I took it. It was over there. I'm the only one in the whole company, including people who need it, that have 2 external monitors. And people come over and ask. I go, don't worry about it.
yeah, these super nice like 27-inch LG 4K
Bro,
displays.
Do you know what I do? I send emails with that.
That's my email monitor.
It's true. Dude, if anybody from work actually listened to this show, I wouldn't say it.
It's funny because typically if I walk over to your desk, one of them is just a wallpaper and the other one is your emails.
Yeah. That was a little hurtful, but it's really true.
I
I need pretty pictures while I email.
I have a dedicated email monitor.
I'll share with you guys.
Okay, so what do? I pretty much work through emails.
Keeping my desktop clean is important to me, so I put my work on one of them and keep the other one clean.
Man, I tell you what, I've got an office set up at home, and for after Thanksgiving, my parents had a TV that had died, and my wife and I decided we were going to do something nice. And so for like Black Friday or Cyber Monday, whatever it was, my wife had ordered a TV for Best Buy and had it shipped to my parents' house. And it was a smart TV, which my parents don't utilize, and they couldn't figure out how to get the thing to work. And my dad was convinced that it doesn't work. So he packed it back up in the box and they were going to return it, but it was just easier for us to go pick it up and then return it to the store ourselves. And so we got it home. I ripped the box open. I get the TV out. I verify that it works. I go into my office, which already has one TV, and set up another TV. And my wife was like, "It's not like it was free." So we gave it back to Best Buy.
Wow. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Jeremy has an extra monitor if you need one.
Yeah.
I do not have an extra monitor. I have monitors that I utilize. And about 9 times this episode, I think I'm going to say, I don't care for your tone. This seems to be the theme.
That's the title of this one.
You guys come in here to my show and you bring all this attitude.
This has been a takeover. All these voicemails are just little seeds.
Gosh.
Seeds of
I
a
don't think we're going to
takeover.
listen to those today. We're going to do that on the third
Folks
episode.
are going to demand that this is the Kester podcast.
The redacted episode.
They can't like him more than they like us.
Yes, they can. I think.
Watch.
Look at this. Jar Jar came to episode
I
1.
might.
Oh, that's funny.
Who was Joe Rogan's regular guest early on? What's his name? He's in the bunch of the titles.
Is it Joe Biden? Who was it?
I don't know. Anyways, maybe that's us over time. We'll take advantage of that. Thanks, buddy.
Oh boy. So there's that.
What was that was the first topic that
We're doing
covered
well.
there?
We're still doing.
Yeah, we're
updates.
just
This is updates. Yeah,
we're just
chilling.
doing
so you
updates.
got the 300. What about you, Corey?
I was on a work trip in Ireland. I talked about that.
Where are you now?
Yeah, it was really good. 4 full days in an office, dark to dark. But this time,
Sounds like an amazing way to experience Ireland.
right? This time, very wisely, I scheduled myself 1 full free day. And I had been researching. I was in Galway, which is on the West Coast, from the hit Ed Sheeran song "Galway Girl," and I was like, well, if I'm there, I got to see the Cliffs of Moher, right? And my colleague, who she was born in England, but she has family in Ireland. She was going to be there as well, but I didn't want to put it on her to take me there. So I'm researching, like, do I take a bus? Like, do I hire a car? How do I get down there? And I never wanted to be so forward as to ask her, like, hey, you're going to be here too. Can you drive me around? You've been here before.
And if you even bring it up, there's an implied suggestion.
Yeah, exactly right.
Right.
So here we are. We're done with the work stuff now. 4 days. It was pretty intense, the work stuff. And it was almost like I didn't even realize I was in Ireland until that was all behind me, because mentally I can't shift over to the next thing until that's done and I can tick that box. And then it was like, oh, I'm in Ireland. And so she goes, you said you wanted to see the Cliffs of Moher, right? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, well, why don't I just take you down? It was like an hour and a half down the coast.
Nice.
Which was, I didn't even know that I'd be able to go, or that I had enough cash, euro to get down there. So when she said that, I was like, oh, thank you so much. Like, I didn't expect that at all, but like, awesome. So we drive down, we get to see the cliffs. I mean, pictures, it's such a cliche thing. The whole pictures don't do it justice. But when you see a sheer rock face of 700 feet down into the ocean on a like partially cloudy Irish day with the green grass on top.
Amazing.
And then you're looking halfway down the cliffs and you see a speck that is a seagull. And you're like, that seagull's not even like, that's like halfway up. And then it's like another 350 feet down until the ocean, where they say you can see sharks and porpoises and stuff, and it's just breathtaking, right? So So we see that, and I've gotten to tick that box, and I won't bore you with all the stories and all the facts about the Cliffs of Moher that I learned while I was there, but just I got to tick that box. I got to say that I was there. So we're walking back to the car. I think we're going to go back to Galway and be back in the afternoon, hit a pub, and then get a good night's rest before we head back back home. And she had been listening to me all week say that on my mother's side that my heritage is from Ireland. And she kept asking where, and I said it's this little town called Rockchapel, which is in County Cork. It's way, way far away from the cliffs. So right before we get to the car, she said, "Hey, I have a proposition for you. What if I just take you to where your great-great-grandfather's from?" And I was like, "Madeline, you don't have to do it." I didn't even think I'd get to come to the cliffs, let alone and I could get emotional thinking about it, like how generous that was of her to offer, because you don't understand, this was going to be a whole other half day, and the only time she was there as well to spend time with her family. And she says, "No, you may never come back. You don't know when you'll be back here. So let me I want to take you to Rockchapel." And so I'm like, "Are you serious?" Like I strongly declined the offer twice, and then on the third time, she all but insisted. So we hop in the car and we're just listening to old-timey Irish songs and driving through the countryside. Now it's a race to get to Rockchapel before the sun goes down so that I can get a few pictures of the landscape, because it's a small town. And we got there right before the last of the bit of light for taking pictures was there. So I got to take some pictures and have a pint in the little pub right there on the main drag where my great-great-grandfather was from. And I was woefully unprepared with facts and figures and names and when he left, and because I didn't even know that I'd get this opportunity. So I'm texting my grandpa now what part was he from and what was his when did he come over to the U.S. and all this stuff. And I did as much as I could in the little bit of the time that I was there, but now I know kind of where it sits and how long it takes to get there. Like we were saying earlier, it's kind of a research trip. Now I can go back and do a little more digging, but that was so unexpected and super special. And this is all still the one free day, right? And the last thing that was really cool was, and I felt glad about this, that she still said, "Hey, we're going to go visit my family while I'm here." And it was way out of our way again to get back to Galway. But we got to visit some of her family. The night before, we had visited her Auntie Mary, who's 90 years old. And so to be in an old Irish woman's home and hear her tell stories, and she's lived there her whole life. And then the last, on our way back, this is on the way back from Rockchapel, and then I'll shut up. She says, "Now, I've got this one cousin, his name's Frank the Yank, and his family went to New York. They didn't really stay in Ireland for very long. And he may or may not be connected to the mafia, and he's this really outspoken, kind of weird, kind of funny old guy, and he'll have stories for days. And I heard he's in town. And so if it's okay with you, on the way back up to Galway, if we pop in at my other cousin's shop, so they have a storefront."
This was your host, the person.
Yeah. And so she says, "They have this storefront, and I know they're all going to be there catching up and visiting. So if it's okay with you, we'll stop." Well, I can't say no now. And now I'm intrigued because I've heard Frank the Yank stories for a whole week now.
It sounds like he probably drives a 300.
Probably.
Yeah.
So this was really cool. We stop in this other little town on the way back. And it's just this big retail store of toys and food and snacks and stuff. And then we walk back this hallway, and it opens up to their home, and they're just all around the dining room table telling stories and catching up. And I just got to be a fly on the wall and listen to them talk. She's from England, they're from Ireland, and just hear all these stories. And Frank the Yank he's got this New York sort of accent, but he lives in Philadelphia now. And I'm just soaking it all up, hearing all the little turns of phrase and the way that they interact with one another, and just loving it. And I just had this crazy fun. It felt like 4 days packed into one. And I'm so grateful to Madeline, my colleague, who she did not have to do that. That was so cool. And there's no way I'll ever be able to repay her, but we just sang songs and laughed, and it was awesome. So Ireland was pretty cool. That one free day was worth. It was pretty special. So and Madeline will never listen, but thank you, Madeline. That was really classy of you. You didn't have to do that. So, yeah.
Awesome, man. Dude, I wonder how many times that it's got me thinking about how many times do we have the opportunity, and how many times do we take the opportunity to facilitate someone's top 5 lifetime like I don't know. I feel that I have a sense for that in some of these pep talks I can give kids when I'm coaching elementary basketball. I've got a kid right now that's just devastated because he's ineligible in high school, and we got to have a real serious, like, hopefully talk. But I wonder how many opportunities, like she's now a facilitator of one of your top, like, how high, like.
That's what I'm so glad you said that, because
Unbelievable.
on our way back from Rock Chapel before going to seeing her family that night, I said, because she's this way. She's twice my age, my senior, and did I say that right? She's old enough to be one of my parents. And I said, do you realize that this is part of who you are? She doesn't know a stranger. She talks to everyone, from the maintenance man at the airport to someone she's never met, and they're fast friends. She just lives with this light and life and energy and kindness. She can be, a bit of a tough cookie, but we all can, right? From time to time. But I said, do you realize that this is rare? Like, I'm so glad you brought this up, because I always like to try to elevate things to a higher conversation. I said, do you look at the world around you and like see that how you are and how you interact with people and how you treat everybody equally? Do you see that as rare? And do you think that's a nature or nurture thing? Do you think that is getting increasingly less and less over time? Like, do you see this part of who you are and recognize how special it is? That you even thought to give me this day when you could have done whatever you wanted on your free day as
she
well.
didn't just drive you too. She was like crazy thoughtful.
A tour guide and driving and telling stories and in context of places, and here's what this place means. And she goes, yeah, I think so. Like, she gave this very humble answer. And then she said, for me, it happened when she told this story. I forget where she was regionally, but she was somewhere far. She was 2.5 hours from home, and she had to get home, and it was nighttime. So she knew, I'm already tired, and I have a 2.5 hour drive ahead of me. When she's driving through this town, and there's a commotion in the town, and there's like a homeless person laying in the street, and they're making a fuss over this homeless guy. Either he said something or did something or whatever. And in her mind, she was like, I can stop and help, or I can just keep going. And she said, I realized then in that moment that it was easier for me to stop and help in this situation than it was to drive 2.5 hours home with the knowledge that I didn't.
Yeah.
And I was like, man. And that's the level of stuff we were talking about while we were in the car for hours and hours and hours together. But that really hit me when she said that. Like, and that she gave me what is not really a big deal to her. And she still gets to drive around the Irish countryside and do that stuff too. But like, was a once in a lifetime opportunity perhaps for me. So yeah, it was pretty special.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I cleaned my room. So
Cool.
Your turn, Dylan.
Yeah, what a jerk for making me try to follow up that story. Yeah. I'm excited tonight after we record. We're gonna do a little kind of family, from the middle family dinner.
I've never met the Dylan Hubble family.
Yes, yeah. So we're all gonna get together and we're gonna have some pizza and salad and dessert and hang out and
Pizza and dessert, yeah.
pizza. And, who knows?
There will be salad.
There will be. It will exist on a plate. No, I'm really excited about that. We just had our company holiday party. That was nice. I felt very grown up. When you see movies where like everyone's mingling around a space with bricks, and everyone's got like their little hors d'oeuvre plate and a drink in their hand, and they're just walking around being adults and mingling.
He's talking about the beginning of the Santa Claus.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it was that. And I, for just a little bit, I stood back along the wall and just kind of took it all in, because this was, I don't know about anybody else, but like I didn't live that kind of adult thing that happens, and it's just not something that I'd ever done. I'd been at like Christmas parties before, but it's like, hey guys, we're gonna go to Dave and Buster's. There'll be a pizza there,
right?
If you want to have a slice of pizza on the company for Christmas. So yeah, it was just like this. Okay, yeah, I'm living in one of these moments that I've seen in movies before. So had a nice work party. Excited for the from the middle, kind of get together after this. It's the first time we will have gotten all the families together. So those are a couple fun things going on with me.
Fantastic.
Yeah, spent some time. I was out sick, unfortunately, on Christmas party day, but for work. But I've had a really neat kind of reassessment at this age and what I'm going through right now of transitioning my view of myself and the work that I'm doing. And
You've mentioned that a few times, so I'm glad you're going there. I was going to ask you about it. Like
just in my faith and kind of detachment from the world and attachment to what's important, but also just you tell yourself stories about yourself all the time. Your whole life, you kind of have a view of yourself, and over time, you have to reassess that. I think, and as a parent and as a husband, I'm doing a lot of reassessing of what I assume about. And so one of the things is like I took down my office and turned it into a homework station for the kids. We're doing that. And so that was a big transition.
By the way, that looks really fun.
Yeah, and so just kind of trying to figure out how to bring some order in my home. A lot of my energy's been work related for a long time, and so just finding contentment in my home life and that sort of thing has been a real deal. So that's been fun. We clean the house, and we've been a lot more intentional about like, what is this space for? Why is it set up this way? And that's really helped with keeping it clean and things. Dylan was a great consultant with the kids who the boys, when they did their room, Harland wanted an engineering table to build on that nobody could bother, and Henry wanted an art station, and so we might circle over to you at some point.
Yeah.
And instead of like a cubbies, they wanted a glass case where they could show off their best Lego buildings. So we have this big oak kind of poker table in the basement in the game area, and that's going to be a dedicated Lego station. And so Dylan was sending me links of like what the minifigs go on, and that's a term that a lot of people use that, like us that are into Legos, minifig.
Yeah.
And but I'm brand new to a lot of that stuff, Star Wars, Legos, that sort of thing, is transitioning from being too serious to like really enjoying my kids' childhood.
Yeah.
And so that's been really fun. So some of the stuff you guys talk about, I'm also using instructionally as I start. My kids are interested in Star Wars. I've Lord of the Rings, Legos, and those sort of things. So I'm like, hey, and I get online. I'm like, I'll just get a bunch of them for cheap. Just get on and get Legos for cheap. And it's like, hey, I have this, pill bottle of Legos for $400.
Yeah.
And it's
Lego and cheap don't.
So that sort of stuff has been really fun, kind of getting into what the kids are getting into.
Well, so we were talking the other day about, for whatever reason, it had just worked out that the family bookshelf was in your son's room.
Yeah.
And that kind of rearrangement of like, that goes back to a little bit about what's this space for? Why is it this way? I thought that was interesting, like, because you were being very intentional about like, you mentioned, and if this is too much, just stop me, but like they felt a little interrupted in their private space because people would run in to grab a book, and if you want to share any of that, please.
Yeah, I'm just learning to, I'm an introvert that has, learned to be an extrovert. I relate a little bit to Dexter without the violence. And so there's like, I get very, Corey, I related to what you said about the discomfort after interactions, the anxiety that sometimes comes with overthinking and things. That's me all the time. And so
it's exhausting.
It is exhausting. And I've learned to kind of, cope with that and that sort of thing. But one of the things that's come with overcorrecting is just this raging extroversion that is very me focused. And so it's been really fun lately with the kids, instead of just giving advice, asking them like, this is your room. Mom and dad always have a key. There's just not going to be any privacy at this stage of your life, but like any demand for privacy. But I was like, what do you want from this room? And the kids, and I talked to them, and they're like, I want it to be clean. I'm like, no, that's like saying Jesus in Sunday school, right? Like, what's the answer? Jesus. Right. It's like, all right, bud. Yeah, technically he is the answer, but we're talking about Moses here. So like, it was like, and it took some time to get conversational with them and kind of like encourage them to say like, there's really no answer here. Like you can do whatever you want, but let's talk about what you want the space to be. And the consensus was, we'd like to have a space where people can't come in without at least asking. And so we looked around and I said, well, are there things in here that go against that goal? And one of the things was a family bookcase that anyone had a right to come to, and it's not fair to have to ask to get a book. And so we moved that out, and we moved other things out. And by them describing what their dream was for the space, we were able to kind of make, and then Harlan put together an IKEA table, which that was why I posted and I tagged the podcast, because the IKEA table was like unnecessarily like 75 pieces. It's a top, like picture Ron Swanson's disgust here looking at this thing. And but it was really cool because we're sitting there and I made them do it. And the only thing, the giant pane of glass I lifted for the case, but in general, they did their own thing that they asked for. And Harlan looks up at me and he's like, Dad, IKEA's like Legos. And I like literally turned into Dylan. I literally physically turned into Dylan. I turned around and I looked at him and I went, a lot of life's like Legos, buddy. And it was just like the most beautiful, weird stalker moment. But it was cool. Like it's been fun and I've been doing that more with my wife and with the kids and just asking more questions. Like, hey, what is this for? Why are we doing this? And so
Yeah.
that's where that came
What
from.
sort of prompted? I mean, is it the new year, new you? What sort of prompted the? Because we love
Gosh.
that. I mean, what sort of prompted all the introspective? Like, because I think we're close in age. Like I mentioned it in one of the last episodes. Like I feel like I'm kind of getting there. Not the Marie Kondo thing, but like, what do I really possession wise? I don't need a lot. Like,
Yeah.
there are some things I enjoy and that make me happy and that I want to pass down to my kids. My Lego collection. But like, what do I really want to retain and what's weighing me down? And what can I get rid of and make somebody else's day by giving them this small set of action? Like, I don't know if that's a age thing that I feel like I'm in this, like, let's
Yeah.
rethink our spaces and places and why we do what we do.
People at some point by the time they're 20 have gotten rid of a lot of their toys.
It's pretty common, you're saying?
Yeah, that's a fairly common thing.
Cool.
This
It's
Corey and
just
I are
about
delayed.
toys, Kendall.
Yeah. So I think it's at a certain point you realize at a certain age that things that you believe about yourself aren't working. So there's, you know what I mean? Like enough time has gone by that you go, this isn't sustainable. And the thing that's really stood out to me recently has been this kind of principle that, like, if you're working harder on something and it's not getting better, you probably just have a bad system. And so, like, in terms of my education and my difficulty with that, and now seeing that with my kids, I'm realizing, like, sometimes you have to change the entire way you're doing it and not just try harder. And so, like,
One of my favorite quotes to that point is, every system is perfectly designed to get the results it's getting.
Right. That's good.
So whether
Did you make
that's
that up?
no, I heard it somewhere and it just really stuck. So whatever weight you are exactly the weight you're supposed to be based on the system of how you eat and how you move.
Yeah.
You're getting the exact results you should be for that system. An organization, a church, how something functions, it's getting the results it's supposed to be getting based on the system. So
Yeah.
if the system is broken,
Yeah, Dylan talks to me about that a lot because I was self-employed for almost 15 years. And some of the things I'm learning now in my career are things that probably a lot of people learned pretty early on in school. And so it's been interesting to say, like, how much of this is me and how much of it's just that I may be in the wrong setup or have the wrong goals or whatever. But it's been really fun with the kids and the family to kind of just say, do whatever you want. Here's a couple restrictions. Here's some things to think about. But, like, let's do this. This will be fun. And it's been nice.
that's cool. All right. Good stuff. Did anybody see the Connor fight last night?
Oh my gosh, so good.
I didn't, but I read about it this morning.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Connor versus Cowboy.
40 seconds.
That
long.
was supposed to be close.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Connor destroyed in 40 seconds. And I don't know. I've been watching WWE.
Yeah.
And I sort of reached out to the men's group of our church and just said, hey, is anybody even interested in going in on this? We'll pitch our money to put our money together and, like, go to somebody's house and watch. Nobody really responded. But I texted a few guys and they're like, yeah, I might go see it. I might go see it. So I'm like, okay, let's just go to like a B-dubs and watch it there. So Brad, who we've had on the show, Brad and I went and watched it, and he was real big into UFC back in the day. So he was explaining, like, moves, and because I'm like I've been on the fringe of it. But I think it's going to be hard to go back to WWE after watching UFC.
Yeah.
Because you see, like, and I don't remember in the prelims the name of the girl, but she, like, broke her knee or dislocated her knee mid-fight
Yeah.
and kept fighting.
Yeah.
The
Just
ref
this-
accidentally talked into the
that
mic.
happens
Did you
in
catch that?
WWE all the time, Corey.
Did you catch the ref on that?
Yeah.
He accidentally talks in the mic and he goes, it's a minor ACL tear. She's fine. He said that to the doctor said that to the ref. She's fine. In other words, she will tear her ACL in the next minute or so. He was like, yeah, it's fine. And I'm like, we're in ancient Rome right now.
And I don't know which of them was cut, but there was blood everywhere. The girl can't even stand, and she keeps fighting.
Yeah.
And
I don't condone for our listeners.
I'm just like, this is amazing.
That's nothing. WWE has a cow that spits green mist that burns your eyes.
Yeah.
So don't come at me with blood. Everybody's got blood. Blood's not. I could cut myself right now and just bleed all over the office.
For this
It's
experiment,
not
I think
special.
I'm giving WWE a year. Okay, I'm really enjoying it. The WWE, I've been watching that.
With it, man. I'm loving it.
I'm really enjoying it. The nostalgia, it's all coming back. It's reminding me when I watched in the Attitude Area. But there are some times, and by some I mean probably a dozen per night, where no matter how much I want to suspend disbelief, I watch something and go, "Oh, come on."
Oh, dude, but there's part that's okay.
Yeah,
Like,
I know that's part of
That's part of it. It's
part of it,
I
but-
mean, there's times where you're laughing at it. There's
Yeah.
times when you're invested. Like, for example, spoiler alert, if anybody cares, nobody does.
The whole audience for WWE is in this room.
I backed
It's
up.
fine.
I backed up and watched Raw from starting January of 2019.
Yes.
And so by the time we got around now to Seth Rollins' heel turn,
Yep.
that meant something to me.
Yeah.
Versus, I don't know what it meant to you, but like you had just started, so you didn't have that full year of backlog.
I would so call in right now.
Not the dude. And what would you say?
I don't
know, what is this?
I know. I'm making fun of you guys playing with your toys and your Lego. I'm over here nerding out about WWE.
No, I'm with you. I've been along for the ride since the beginning of the season for Raw, NXT, and SmackDown. I'm caught up. I've been watching it.
Right.
I've been enjoying it. I have favorites again. I have guys that I've look forward to seeing when their music comes on. I'm like, oh, Kane came back the other night in SmackDown, and
that
I was
was
like,
awesome.
oh, sweet. So I get it. I get all of that. I'm loving it. It's fun. Sherry rolls her eyes when she walks into the room and sees me watching it. Even my daughter Lily goes, "What? What are you watching? This is clearly fake." And I'm like, it's not fake. But all that being said,
Let me jump off a top rope into your stomach. Tell me it's fake.
I'll tell you this, so none of them last 45 seconds.
so
None
to
of
watch
the matches.
UFC last night, all I'm saying is to watch UFC last night and to hold those things side by side. I'm not taking away the physicality and the athletic ability of athletes on either side. Roman Reigns is clearly jacked, and he knows what he's doing in terms of taking care of his body. And the way that some of these guys can flip and do stuff, it's awesome. I'm just saying, when you put it side by side, it's just a fun comparison, and it's an interesting comparison. That's all I'm saying.
Which is rare because it's hard to compare because most people who watch UFC, I would guess, haven't seen, what did you call it? Professional wrestling?
Sports entertainment.
Yeah.
Professional sports entertainment.
So anyway,
WWE.
go Connor.
Look at that.
I got this flag in Ireland, and I took it to B-Dubs last night.
Is that right?
And when he came in, I was like, I wore my "Kiss Me, I'm Irish" shirt.
wow.
And
that's awesome.
Brad was rolling his eyes like,
Jeez.
Next time, just say, you know what, Israel? My enjoyment of this program.
Did they have
and
any-
that's it.
You might be a Star Wars fan right now.
Look,
Yeah.
I thought the other day I started watching Solo, and some of the aliens in that, and I just laugh with myself and go, and this is why it's the Star Wars universe,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
okay.
It's okay.
There's some silly creatures in here, and I'm gonna just enjoy it.
Yeah,
wonderful segue, by the way. So you, Mr. Kester, not Ketterman, different friend of ours,
Different Jeremy.
different Jeremy. That's
that
why
right?
I was
Yeah.
confused. Shout out to Jeremy Ketterman. He doesn't listen. Anyway, you said
Better
you-
guy, but doesn't call in with voicemails.
You said you just watched through all of the Star Wars films, save the last one.
Yeah. I'm caught up though because I listened to the last episode. So from the middle.
And you had never
Yeah.
seen them. You
Yeah.
just came in cold, and you watched them in order of
Did you start
story.
with Phantom Menace? Was that
well,
one?
I didn't.
Or-
I didn't really have a sense for how I was supposed to watch them. I consulted Dylan a little bit and some others, but it was such a pretentious. I mean, it was like I was being a hipster every time I brought up that I hadn't seen them. I just hadn't seen them. I mean, I was born after the originals. We didn't have cable. We were kind of in a hard way. We didn't watch TV. We didn't watch movies. Growing up, and I hadn't seen them, and there really wasn't an occasion to kind of start Star
Right.
Wars. They were still going on. And so I started to kind of get into it a little bit, the idea of watching them, and listened a little bit to the banter on why. I had already known because it was such a common trope to say, Luke, I'm your father. Like I already knew the twist in 4.
Right.
Was it in 4? I'm sorry. I've literally seen them all except for the last one time, and I watched them together over 2 days straight. I had it on the whole time. So yeah, I hadn't seen them at all, and I really enjoyed them. And I actually watched them in chronological. What would you call it, Dylan?
Well, when you initially came to me
I watched them
about
in timeline.
asking, I said, "Do you already know any major twists or anything?" And you said, "Yeah, Luke and Darth Vader, whatever." I said, "Okay, then at this point, just watch it chronologically, because if you watch Rise of Skywalker, you already know the twist.
By timeline, not by release.
By timeline, yeah, not by release. So just watch 1, 2, 3, then watch Solo, Rogue One, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then you'll be ready for 9.
It sounds like a lot when you say it like that.
And I said, the only thing I think I said was, if you can help it, try to watch Rogue One and 4 literally back to back.
Which I did.
Like in the same viewing if you can, because I think you'll enjoy them more that way. If you watch them
Same scene.
Yeah, because it basically ends and picks
awesome.
up at the same spot. And I think that was the only thing I told you.
Between 2 and 3 or something, you can watch all of the Clone Wars.
Yeah,
I couldn't get. I just didn't
you
have
weren't
the
going to
time.
get into all the shows yet, but it
Yeah.
was just the live action films. Unfortunately, all of them between Disney Plus and Netflix.
It was actually the
everything
week that.
was on.
Yeah,
there.
it was my first week with Disney Plus, and I thought that would be a good christening. So I did that, and I've always kind of had the sense that I'm pandering a little bit. This is true to you guys. I always had a sense of like, hey, that costs millions of dollars to make, and it cost me $7. Thanks for making that for me. Whenever I see movies, I very rarely have a 10, and I very rarely have a 0. Most of my movies are in that 3 to 7 range of like, hey, thanks for making that for me. Like you know what I mean? That was really nice of you to spend millions of dollars so I can enjoy that. So I rarely have like this epic list or low list. So I got to watch it and really just enjoy the storyline. And I didn't realize it was as deep as it was. I had kind of thought that it was, this is a weird way to say it. I've never said it this way, but more of an Indiana Jones type feel. I kind of thought, protagonist goes out, fights off the deal, and then finds out the deal. And that's kind of how I viewed it. But when I was going through it, I was like, wow, just like the inner struggle. And I was like relating to some of those. And it was just really cool. We had some great discussions around that. And I really enjoyed it.
So when you hear our episode 33, where we break down just one of the main films, and you don't have that context or appreciation because you've just not watched them.
Yeah.
And then you just watch it as I'm just going to sit here and enjoy and take it all in. And then you see how passionate and crazy and critical the Star Wars fan base can be. How do you rationalize those extremes of, and what was your experience watching it and going, okay, I get why they care
I tuned
so
a lot
much,
of that out.
or-
I tuned
Yeah.
a lot of that out because you can kind of sense, I don't know, like in the photography world, it's a lot like that. People want to sit down and prove how smart they are. We're talking about composition and things that I'm fully capable of talking about. But the more comfortable you get with it, the more comfortable you're just saying, that's a really good photo. You know, thanks, Linda. That's a nice photo. And you don't break it. You just don't see the world pixel by pixel like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As you get an understanding of it. And, you know, I'm trying to make home movies and there's plot holes. And, you know, like it's just, right? Like, you know, so it's hard to make something perfect. And so I just appreciate it. Yeah.
One thing I enjoyed about our discussion, so after you would watch one, if I remembering correctly, this is what I tried to do. I would say, so what were your thoughts?
Right.
And then you would tell me your thoughts and it'd say, okay, now that you've said that,
Yeah.
here's some complaints or some praise. Here's my thoughts on the complaints
Oh
or
my gosh.
praise.
Dylan was like, he was handling.
Now what do you think?
Yeah.
Does that change? And, you know, it was just great to
great.
like get to live that kind of vicariously through you, because I really wanted to watch them all before Rise of Skywalker and it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
And so it was fun to kind of live that through you, and you're asking some questions just to try to make sure, you know, some things, it's easy to slip by when there's that much happening in the universe. So you're asking some questions and I got to kind of talk back through some things and express my opinion once you express yours.
Yeah, he was handling it like he was handling the Declaration of Independence. He was literally like, I was the only source of, like, I was the last person on Earth, and he was the only person who could get this viewpoint.
But that had to be fun for you, Dylan, because like it's almost like somebody stumbles out of a cave and says, "Introduce me to Star Wars," and you're like, oh, "Okay,
Yeah.
Well, but that's the thing, though. Like, this wasn't, let me tell you about all these things before you watch them.
Yeah.
And I was really trying to get your feedback. Like, I want to get his pulse, because if he's like, these are terrible, then I'm not going to try to dive in and tell him why I think they're not.
Well, and I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on Reddit. Like, I'm not really connected to, I don't see reviews really. I don't really get on YouTube. So, like, I don't know what people are saying other than I kind of write people off as a complainer in general. I'm like, oh, okay, they're going to complain about the meal next, and then Star Wars, and then whatever. So I had a really neat opportunity
That's
to
a
enjoy
really
it.
healthy point of view."
Well,
Yeah,
seriously.
it was a lot of fun. Like, it was great, because I think you were really gelling with a lot of the stuff that, you know, sort of once you had watched it, and I was trying to be fair and say, here's some common complaints, Here's why I don't agree with those. And I think we were really gelling on a lot of that conversation.
When stories are that deep too, like when you read like a nonfiction story of someone's life, you don't get to go like, oh, I wish like that they didn't end that right. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
when you're looking at a story, it's very rare that it'll do that. Sorry.
That was Kendall's point when we broke it down. He's like, that is what it is.
Yeah, right.
It's not about how you thought it should have ended because you feel a sense of ownership. That's what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your ideas of what should have happened are in fact wrong.
Yeah. Teach your kids that
'Cause
that's what they
not-
should do.
because
But
that's not what happened.
yeah, but
Right.
it was so fun.
That's cool. And where timeline wise, because you and the family just went to like Disney area not long ago on vacation, right? So had you watched all the movies by the time you went there?
It doesn't matter. Like in no way did the magic of Disney affect
Wrong question, Dylan.
in no way did the magic of Disney affect my experience of trying to keep 4 kids safe.
Yeah.
And not spend $10,000 at Disney. So anyway, that ends our show, and so yeah, no, it was simultaneously a wonderful, magical experience and a horrible time. That was almost the mascot for what I'm talking about. Is am I capable as a husband and a dad to thoroughly enjoy something I don't like because my kids and my wife are having such a wonderful time? Like that's literally the thing. And I went there and we're on the monorail and I'm with family and there's family dynamics that are difficult, but I love my family unconditionally and they're difficult and they know they're difficult. It's not a difficult bad person. It's just difficult. And so then we're on the monorail and they're like, oh, this is so beautiful and there's music and whatever. And I'm like, if my daughter doesn't get on this and this door closes, I won't see her for 35 minutes. You know, like I'm thinking about those things, 10,000 people and, all this stuff. And they're like, Daddy, can I buy this $50 balloon? It has air in it. It has Disney air in it. But to be fair,
Disney air ain't free.
what we did, which was wonderful and beautiful and very generous of my sister and brother-in-law was we went to all of the resorts.
Yeah.
And we went to the lobbies of the resorts. We didn't go into the park.
Oh, okay.
So we drove down to Orlando and stayed in a condo and then just had a really nice time.
You resort hopped. What I was asking, simpler question.
Mark that and cut that.
No, I was just going to say, because now you've got Disney obviously owns Star Wars. Did your appreciation for any of the Star Wars themed anything of it go up because
No.
you had just watched them?
No.
It still was just a bunch of expensive merchandise slapped on every shelf.
No, I'll tell you exactly what I should have watched.
Yeah.
I should have watched the thing that we watched when you came out to the
The
house.
Imagineering story.
The Imagineering story would have completely changed my view of the experience.
Okay.
The Disney thing did not. It makes complete natural sense that people would slap stuff on stuff. To me, I was like, it's
just merchandise.
Here's the thing, we own it. We have a factory. Let's put that on there. To me, but if I could have understood Disney as a product itself,
Yeah.
I mean, now I want to go back. Now I want to take them and do the whole deal. And
Yeah.
when I see that castle, pictures of the castle that we took, I'm like, okay, now I get it.
Yeah, it's interesting having watched the Imagineering story, and you literally are watching it in this documentary get built and hearing about, they're like, yeah, when we launched Disney World, we were using a helicopter. As guests are walking in, we're using a helicopter to help dry the concrete in the parts of the park
Wow.
to make sure that they didn't fall into wet concrete, and all of this just for total. I mean, just the amount of work and crazy
And
stories.
selflessness.
Wow.
Like a lot of the decisions they made had nothing to do with money. It was like these vision projects and the magic on the kids' faces, and that's what I should have watched beforehand.
Yeah. So that would be interesting. We'll get your thoughts if you ever.
But
go
my
back.
kids loved it, and they and they've never seen Star Wars.
They don't
and they're
care
buying
about any-
lightsabers, and my
Yeah.
daughter's posing as Rey in front of the logo or in front of the Rey Lego thing, and
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
awesome.
None of that would have mattered to the kids. They would have had a magical time
Yeah,
no matter
and
what.
so did
but
my
as
wife.
but as an adult going in, and your wife was so excited we were watching Imagineering story.
Oh, yeah.
Because I dropped by for a little bit. We had a place to be after, so I was like, well, let's turn this on. There's a lot of interesting, cool life lessons and principles in that documentary series.
awesome.
So I'm like, I think you'll appreciate it more than just, hey, watch them build a park. It's a neat thing. You can there's a lot There's a lot in
Yeah.
there. It's deep.
And generations of artists that work there. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, that you've got kids talking about their parents and grandkids that were, work there that still work for Disney, and yeah, it's cool.
Did you happen to go to the Art of Animation Resort?
No, I think we went to the kind of the main deals. So my brother-in-law and my sister they spent their honeymoon or their what's the money you get when you get married? People pay you. What's that called?
I don't know.
Their marriage money or whatever. They
Marriage money.
They spent their marriage money. They were really thoughtful about it, and they were like, "Look, we're living in Florida. We could buy a car. We could put some money toward a house, but we're going to buy." And they did the membership
Annual
ownership
pass or whatever?
Well, and they have the timeshare deal, and they have the whole deal. And so, not only did we go to the resorts, but we were able to go to the member only areas. We watched the fireworks from a balcony up there, and they were just so generous, and it was such a wonderful trip. I just mean, when I complain, I'm being hyperbolic to point out that it's different being a dad in a crowd in a new space,
Sure.
keeping people safe. You don't get to it's nothing's magical. It's lurking corners and things like that. And that's true of like a birthday party. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
so it was wonderful.
Yeah.
Josh and Amanda, thank you for
Only
hosting.
now, yeah. And instead of just being a dad worried about your kid like walking off too far, getting lost or whatever, now that you've got like Jafar or something you have to worry about.
Well, we weren't anywhere near the characters. We saw
yeah.
the stores,
Good.
Yeah,
so it was nice. But
Jafar
no, Ireland
Carried
sounds
away
cool.
by a stormtrooper.
yeah.
Man,
No, we
trying
didn't
to
see any of
parent in
that.
that situation.
Jafar's a rascal.
He is.
Oh, that's a different. Oh, I didn't catch it.
I'd be the opposite. I'd be talking to the stormtroopers like, arrest my kid. Please.
Take him off.
It'll be
please.
fun.
I had random strangers walking up to me in a giant crowd going, "Hey, can you take my photo?" I'm like, I can't get out of this. That'd be like literally there's 1,000 people and they'll come up to you and go, "Can you draw me real quick?"
Just a quick caricature.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Anyway.
awesome.
Well, that's a good intro, guys.
Speaking of stormtroopers, just
When are we starting?
okay.
This table I need a better table.
Oh man, this is
There's
so
a
much fun.
podcast and then there's a reality that Corey and I really just need to get coffee and talk.
I totally.
Do you see what I mean? Like
There you go.
there's this
Yeah,
like now? So, we good?
we good.
oh my goodness.
Good.
I think we should have you back and go through some of your voicemails
Or front, you know.
if you're willing. If
I
you're
don't
willing
care
to
for your
s-
tone.
If you're willing to sit with us for
Yeah,
at
I'd love
least
to come back, guys.
someday.
I appreciate
someday,
that.
like maybe the next episode in a
Yeah,
week.
no, that would be
In
awesome.
a week from today.
Come back next week. Wear the same sweater.
Yeah.
Let's all wear the same clothes.
Yeah.
We'll try to coordinate it so that the weather outside is exactly the
frightful.
same.
Yeah.
And we'll come back in a
Oh,
week.
video ruins the bit, is what you're saying. I see. Yeah, and actually, what's exciting about this episode, I have kind of a sense as an overthinker and somebody who stresses out after interactions like Corey does is they've all listened. I don't have to keep referencing that, but is that probably you'll get the best feedback you've ever gotten on this episode, and they're going to be like, "Look, if you have him on one more time, there's going to be voicemails and everything." Am I what did you call it? The whole, what is the thing you on the wrestling where he's the bad guy?
The heel.
Turns
the heel.
heel.
The heel. Maybe I'm the heel that turns this
Heel.
feedback thing. People start responding.
And then we all become even more babyface.
Yeah.
I see what we did there.
Yeah.
Cool.
So you're
So
you're-
join us
you're
next
our
week.
Drew McIntyre.
He's cool, man. So join us next week where we will have back Jeremy Kester to break down some of his voicemails. And there's a lot of good topics in there, some of which we could, kick the old horse till it's super dead like we did the intro just now. So
Finally found a nickname.
That was for you, Peter.
Wow.
we out. That's it.
Thanks for listening, Ludacris.